Welcome to the Library of Congress National Book Festival. I'm Stephanie Mary, Book World Editor of The Washington Post. Long before getting girls into STEM became a rallying cry, Jennifer Swanson was doing her part. After starting a science club in her garage when she was 7, examining plants under microscopes, for example, she's gone on to become a very busy author when she's not teaching science to middle schoolers. Among the dozens of nonfiction books she's written for children are Brain Games and Super Gear, which was named the best STEM book of 2017 by the National Science Teachers Association. She has also written about the tiny bugs living on our bodies, why poop is great for building, and how submarines work. She'll be signing her new book, Save the Crash Test Dummies, about the history of cars at 4:30. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Jennifer Swanson to the podium.
So, good afternoon. So, as she said, my name is Jennifer Swanson, and I am here to talk to you about my new book, Save the Crash Test Dummies. It's about the history of car safety engineering, and no, I'm not going to bore you with a whole bunch of engineering, although I think engineering is amazing. What we're going to do is talk a little bit about how we developed safety for cars, and then we're going to play a very interactive, I hope, game. And we're going to see how many of you would be willing to become a human crash test dummy. Okay? Everybody ready? Awesome. Okay, so let's start. Well, let's start. Okay, or let's not start. There we go. Cars. Who needs them? I would be willing to raise your hand if you own a car. Yes, look at all the hands. Okay. Anybody own a car like this one? Like a sedan? Raise your hand if you own a sedan. Okay, how about an SUV? Ooh, I see lots of hands. How about a minivan? Oh, okay. I am a proud owner of a minivan. I've been driving one for 10 years, but then I had 3 kids, so they don't all fit there. All right. Anybody own a car like this? If you do, stay. Afterwards, I'd like a ride in it. Right? That looks very cool. So we all know that cars and vehicles in general, we couldn't live without. They've pretty much become an important part of our lives that we use every single day. After all, what would we do without this? Now, who has ridden a school bus? Who has not liked riding a school bus? Oh, I see more hands that second time. Okay, so cars are really amazing things, and they've been around forever. Possibly the first car was this one. Okay, the Flintstones car. Maybe not. How many of you had this as your first car? Okay? How many of you had the souped up version of that one? Okay, so I'm old enough that my first cars were, we took 2 cushions off the couch, put one in front, one behind, and used a paper plate to drive it, right? Anybody do that? Okay, see, look, yeah, that was our car. Okay, so we all know that we couldn't live without cars, but seriously, this was the first car. So I look at that thing and go, it looks kind of like a big bicycle, doesn't it? I mean, these gigantic wheels and everything. Believe it or not, that actually had a motor in it, and that was the first gasoline-powered automobile created by Carl Benz. Now, what do we know Benz from? Mercedes-Benz. Okay, now here's my first question to you. How much do you think that car cost? Back in 1885, what do you think? Infinity dollars. Well, it might have felt like it to these people back then. Yes, what do you think? $90, more than that. More than 200. More than 500. Ooh, I heard someone. $1,000. Now, we all think today, $1,000 for a car, yes, please. Okay. Because what, for the SUVs, what is it, 35,000, 30,000? Yeah. Well, you have to remember back in 1885, do you know how much money they made? You would work all day, 8 to 10 hours, and you would make 50 cents, maybe $1 if you were like really good worker and you worked for a really good company. So it only took you like 3 years to save up enough money for that car. Now, some of you probably think of this one when I say more of like the first car. So that's the Model T. But the Model T didn't come out until 1925. And that one was cheap at $300. So it only cost you a year's worth of salary. So thankfully, over the years, cars have changed. And one of the things that has changed about them is safety. So hopefully everybody knows the answer to this. What is the first thing you do when you get into a car? Seat belts. Very good. Seat belts. Buckle up. So we've not just added seat belts to our car. We've added a whole bunch of things. We have anti-lock brake systems, so hopefully you don't skid. We have airbags in front and back on the side, and some of the SUVs have them on top. So when you, if you hopefully don't, roll over, you have an airbag. And then we have the safety cell for the passenger, which has the crumple zone. So we have the bumpers that actually crumple during a crash, but hopefully not the people inside. Well, we wouldn't have developed all of that with help from a crash test dummy. And right now, I'd like to introduce you to one. Oh, okay, please tell me that this video is going to play. There we go.
Meet Crash. For Crash, each day starts the same. Punch it! And ends the same. Ouch. Though bumped and bruised, Crash loves his job because he helps make cars safer. When seatbelts were invented, Crash was there. When brakes were perfected, Crash was there. When airbags were first deployed, Crash was there. The history of cars is the history of Crash. And as cars go driverless and eventually take flight, Crash will be there too. Because it's not just about where we came from, it's also about where we're going.
Okay, so the cool thing is Crash has a whole family. So you see there's a dad, a mom, and then 3 kids of various sizes. Anybody want to guess why we have all of these different sizes of crash test dummies? Why? Right, because you have a crash is going to affect people of different sizes in a different way. But don't worry, we did not leave out the dog. So this is Fido, the crash test dog. Now I have to say, how many of you, when you put your dogs into the car, actually put them in a harness? Because I don't. My dog is 118 pounds, and that would be like wrestling. So yeah, she's kind of on her own. Okay, so interestingly enough though, the first crash test dummy was a human. So this is Colonel John Stapp. He was in the Air Force, and he volunteered to be the person that they tested G-forces on. Basically, as you fly into a plane and you keep going faster, you feel all these forces pushing at you. And he said, sure, I'll do that. So they strapped him into a rocket sled. That's him in the middle. And then they set him off from 0 to 282 miles per hour. Look at his face. Imagine all of this air flowing at you. And then they stopped it. And that's him. Did he pass out? Occasionally. But he did this over and over and over. He actually stopped being a crash test dummy when they wanted him to drop out of the plane. You know, that's probably not a good thing. So here's the part where I have a question for you guys. Crash and his family would kind of like to go on vacation. So how many of you would be interested in trying out and being a human crash test dummy? Oh, I see some. Oh, come on. Oh, you're like, no way am I doing that. All right. Well, let's see. Okay. So let's see if you can qualify for this. So if you want to be a crash test dummy, you need to like one of these things. Who likes roller coasters? Yes? The loop-de-loop ones. All right. How about this ride? Anybody willing to go on this one? Okay. How about this one? Yeah? Okay, so if you're willing to do any of those rides, then you probably make a good human crash test dummy, because those are the type of forces. So here's what we're gonna do. I need you to hold your hand in a fist, and as I'm gonna show you different things that you have to do as a crash test dummy, and as you watch that, if you're willing to do that, you put up a finger. By the time we're done, we'll see if you have 10, okay? Everyone's like, no way, I'm not even holding up one finger. All right, here we go. Here is your first test. You have to be willing to lay on the ground as the car comes towards you, and it scoops you up into its net and takes you on your way. Anybody willing to do that? Do I see a finger? I see a couple. Okay, so this was the first version of the bumper. It was actually called a cow catcher, and they put them on trains because trains went through pastures, and the cows would sometimes stand in the train, on the train tracks, and they didn't want to kill the cows, so they'd scoop them up and then push the cows along. All right, here's the second one. Who is willing to put their head between two water-filled bumpers as they get smashed? Oh, I heard some yeses. Look at this, hands. Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, so basically another version of the bumpers was they filled them with water. Let's think about that for a minute, right? As two cars come together, what's gonna happen? Well, believe it or not, they actually did have a human being who agreed to sit down and have the two cars come together with their head, and they survived. So I don't think I'm brave enough to do that one. Anybody have 2 fingers so far? All right. We have the next one. This one is, you have to be good at timing and jumping. So you have to stand still as a car comes towards you, and you have to jump on the roof at the right amount of time. But don't worry, there is a airbag that will pop up in front of the driver so the driver can't possibly see anything, including you, but you'll be safe, okay? Yes, who'll do that one? I got some fingers, all right. Okay, so the next one is, we talked about how important seat belts are. But of course, part of Crash's day is that he goes through crashes without seat belts. So let's see what one would look like. Let's see. Yes. So I don't know if you guys heard the sound, but that was the sound of the windshield breaking and you potentially flying out of the car. Anybody want to try that one? I see some 4s, you brave people out there. Very good. Okay, so the next one is, believe it or not, when they were actually working on windshields, this person decided that it would be safer for the humans driving the car, if they got in an accident, to go out onto the roof of the car. So this windshield was designed to pop out so you would fly out of the car. Who thinks that was a good idea? Yeah, no, they only sold like 50 of these or something. Not a good idea. This is why we invented seat belts. Okay, so then we have another crash here. What would help this person? Oh, someone said it, say it loud. Airbags, very good. So you would want airbags. So who is willing to do this instead of crash? Ready? Do I have the 5? You get the airbag on this one, right? You're not gonna go out the window. Okay. And then there's, right, so you'll end up, you just have to be like Crash and just say, it's just gonna leave a small mark. And then we have the side airbag test. Ready? Anybody want to try that one? Oh, there you go. Okay, I got some brave people. Very good. Now, yeah, hopefully you won't end up looking like that. Now, let's see, we've talked about airbags, we've talked about seat belts. Another thing that we use are looking out behind us. Well, unfortunately, we are not like Mr. Potato Head, and we don't get to carry an extra set of eyes with us that we can use in the back of our heads. Instead, we use what? What do we use? Rear view mirrors and backup cameras. Now, what happens if you don't use your rear view mirror and your backup camera? Or perhaps what happens if you can't see that behind there? If you look at this, this is what a lot of people don't know. You see in the yellow here? That is what, unless you have, some of the cars are starting to have cameras down at the bottom, but if you only have a camera up top, you're not going to be able to see everything that's in the yellow. So that's dangerous. You always look behind you, because if you don't, then who wants to be in a rear view collision? Do I have 7? There you go. Oh, I got 10 here already. Wait, you might like the last 3 are not so bad. All right, so if you've survived all of these, what you're gonna do, oh, I forgot about this one. So if you're with Crash, you just borrow the extra set of eyes off of your crash test dummy. But if you've survived all of that, this one I have a question for. How many of you would be in a self-driving car? I see a little more hands for that one. So this one I would try, mostly because I survived teaching 3 teenagers how to drive. So I figure if you can live through 3 teenagers, why not let the robot drive, right? Now, do I actually mean a robot in the car? No, unfortunately, the robot doesn't come. But for this type of car, they actually have all of these computers. There is a camera on top. They use what they call LiDAR, which is a sort of laser radar kind of thing. We have sensors on the front and sensors on the back. And so far, they've tried them out and they work pretty well. But the problem right now is putting them on the road with actual human drivers. The self-driving cars are having a hard time figuring out what the human driver is going to do, because you never know. Because nobody ever cuts you off on the road, right? Or does something unexpected. Okay, so how many people would be willing to do, let's see, do I have 8 here for this one? Ooh, I have more hands. Okay, good. How about, we're gonna skip that one. How about this one? Skyway to the future. Okay, now to truly understand this one, you have to understand you're in sort of a pod, right? And you're kind of doing a recombinant bike kind of thing on a rail, which all of that sounds okay until I tell you the rail is probably like maybe 12 stories in the air. Did I lose some people on that one? Yeah. So this is a type of transportation that they are looking and investigating into doing maybe down the road. My fear is mostly being that high up. You know, hello, there's no, like if you fall, is there a parachute? Do you just fall? I don't know about that one. Anybody willing to try that one? Yes? Okay. Here is the last one. I would be willing to bet a lot of you would be interested in this one. Let's see how this one looks. Flying cars. Now I know that one sounds like a helicopter. I couldn't find the sound of an actual flying car, but you get the idea. Those are rotors. Who would be willing to try out a flying car? Ooh, okay, now I see a lot of hands. I think that would be so cool. Of course, we're not that close to it. They do have some prototypes out that they're testing, but who knows, one day maybe we will be like the Jetsons. Okay, and then I'm just curious how many of you remember in the 80s, do you guys remember Larry and Vince, the crash test dummy commercials? So we'll take you with a little retro, oh, we're gonna move that one. All right, hopefully this one works. Whoa, go back. Give me the video, hopefully. There we go.
2, 1, 2. Larry, you know, this simple exercise can help you stay healthy, which keeps medical costs down.
But you gotta do it every day, Vince. Or you'll get out of shape fast.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your
So
safety
hopefully I
belt.
took a lot of you back to your childhoods. These were on when I was a kid in teenage years. That's pretty much my presentation. I'll take questions in a minute, but what I wanted to tell you is how many people did anybody get all 10? Yes? Yes? Do I have anybody that got over 5 that would be willing to do them? Very good. Do I have anybody that got just 1 or 2? Do I have anybody who says, no way am I doing any of those things? Oh, look at all those hands. Okay. Well, those of you that raised your fingers, you helped save a crash test dummy. And as your reward for that is if you come see me at the book signing, I have stickers to give away, and you can get a sticker there. But I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and then I have, a couple minutes left. So does anybody have any questions about crash test dummies or writing about science books for kids? Yes? What got me interested in talking about crash test dummies? So I did a book about 3 years ago about self-driving cars, and I became obsessed with them. I even sent multiple emails out to Google to see if I could be in their self-driving car. Yeah, none of them were ever responded to. But that's why I decided I wanted to do another book. Yes?
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for this presentation.
Sure.
First, a quick question and then a more substantive question. I noticed that in the photo of the crash test dummy family, none appear to be obese.
There is one. Yes, there is a new one that they came out. I believe his name is Thor, and he is set to be like 250 pounds.
Okay, closer to me.
Well,
okay.
we need to have people of all different sizes,
Right.
because everybody is affected differently.
Correct. And of course, pregnancy as well needs to be accounted for as well.
They actually do have pregnant dummies now. Yep.
Okay, great. And then a more substantive question. I am having considerable difficulty finding a book for a 10-year-old introducing her to the concepts of naval architecture and marine engineering.
Okay,
And,
so
do they exist?
for that age, probably not, but I don't know if you read my bio. I graduated from the United States Naval Academy.
Okay.
So that's a very good question for me. So if there isn't one, there should be one, but I encourage you to email me, and I'll see what I can find for you. Go to my website, jenniferswansonbooks.com, and you can email me. But if there isn't one, there should be one.
Absolutely.
There should be one.
I can find a few books about ships.
Yes.
Sailing ships, submarines. I believe you may have written one about submarines, and there's some others. I think
Yes.
Christopher Doden.
But naval architecture is cool. We took a whole class on it.
Yeah. Naval architecture and marine engineering. I can't find any for 10-year-olds. I would love for them to exist.
Well, I'll add that to my list, too.
Great.
That might be my next book.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Do I have another? Oh, yes.
So how old were you?
How old am I?
No, how old were you when
Oh.
you discovered crash test dummies?
When I discovered crash test dummies. So I started those, let's see, I think that commercial was 85. And I remember, what was it, in the late 70s was when they started the whole buckle up thing. Anybody who's about my age? To answer your first question, my birthday is Tuesday, and I will be 51. So there you go, there's that. Thank you, this is a nice birthday present. So I probably discovered the crash test dummies probably in the early 80s. So I've known about them for a long time because we all remembered those as kids on the commercials. Do you like STEM? Science,
Yes.
technology, engineering, and math?
Yes.
Yay! Do you have another question? Anybody have another question? Yes, oh, right there.
How did the cars work as engineering?
Oh, wow. How do the cars work as engineering? So there's a motor, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff that connects to kind of the chassis, and then all the energy goes out to the tires. It's like a really long, involved thing. Not that I'm trying to like plug my book, but if you look at my book, there's a picture in there that kind of explains how it works. But you could also Google it online to find out how cars work. Most cars work on gas now, but we have cars that work on solar power and a mix of that and all kinds of stuff. Okay, so again, thank you very much for being here and for playing my crash test dummy game. Crash has 4 words for you. It is safety first, buckle up. Thank you.